No one believes that the symptoms can remain if the underlying cause is removed. If you move out of the old operating system, absolutely nothing that seemed to go on within it can be your experience anymore. It's that simple. And shifting operating systems is the atonement. You see, you don't atone for your sins. Atonement means shifting into your right mind, in which sin, disease, and death do not exist, and your fascination with them is no longer present in your mind, and your seeming to be subject to them is no longer an experience available to you, and your inclination to inflict them on others is no longer present. This is very important to understand. The next section is time and eternity. Time and eternity. Eternity, you might say, is the environment of existing in the new operating system. And time is what eternity looks like, feels like, and is experienced as when you're in the ego's operating system. Time and eternity are one, and they are eternity. But please understand that what I'm saying there is that time is eternity misperceived from within the willful state of acting independently. Reading. The continuing will to remain separated is the only possible reason for continuing guilt feelings. Do you get that? If you are continuing to will to remain separate, then you are continuing to be in the arena where guilt is essential to maintaining the dissonance that constantly needs correction, so that you and your brothers are constantly distracted from discovering that the conflict does not lie in either one of you, but in the choice of vantage point from which you are choosing to view the only thing available to experience, which is the kingdom of heaven, which is eternity, which is reality. Continuing, we have said this before, but we did not emphasize the destructive results of this decision at that time. And the word destructive is not too strong there. We could also say distractive results. Continuing, any decision of the mind will affect both behavior and experience. what you will, you expect. This is not delusional. Your mind does create your future, and it can turn it back to full creation at any minute. Keywords: if it accepts the atonement first. In other words, if you make the shift to the new operating system, which is really the original operating system, which is really the ancient operating system, which is really the ever-present, eternal operating system. Again, keywords: it can turn it back to full creation at any minute. Please understand that you're constantly standing at the threshold of making that shift. You're constantly standing at the threshold of abandoning authoritative self-will. It can happen in an instant. It can happen at any minute. Not when you have finished the course, not after several lifetimes. It can happen at any minute. Do not forget this, else you can begin to believe that there is a process in time that must be fulfilled before it can happen. The experience of your right mind is as close as your willingness to stop thinking for a moment and make commitment to not thinking. That's all the further away it is. Again, your mind does create your future, and it can turn it back to full creation at any minute if it accepts the atonement first. Again, if it will shift to the new operating system. It will also turn back to full creation the instant it has done so. Having given up its thought disorder, it's a nice way, a simple way of referring to the old operating system, a thought disorder. Having given up its thought disorder, the proper ordering of thought becomes quite apparent. And you become the mouthpiece for God. You become the expression of God that puts nothing in the way of what God is being right where you are to obscure the beauty of creation that you are. In your willingness to let God be what He is being where you are, without your introducing anything extraneous into the picture, you become what we have called a co-creator with God. Continuing, God, in His knowledge, is not waiting, but His kingdom is bereft while you wait. As long as you are enjoying this state of independence and of free will to do as you wish, without yielding to the underlying order of the universe that you're a part of, you block yourself from experiencing the brotherhood consciously as part of you, and in your defiant act of independence, you hold yourself apart and unavailable to the rest of the brotherhood. And in that sense, the kingdom is bereft. Continuing, all the sons of God are waiting for your return, just as you are waiting for theirs. Delay does not matter in eternity, but it is tragic in time. Is it tragic? Too strong a word? Well, you don't really think that your lives are tragedies, but in light of the gifts of wholeness and joy and love and truth and beauty and harmony that you're missing, it is tragic. Because not only are you missing it, you don't know you're missing it. You think what you see is what you get. This is all there is. And you're making the best of it. And you're trying to use your spirituality to make the best of an illusion, to make the illusion more harmonious. When what's called for is the abandonment of the illusion by the abandonment of self-will, willful, authoritative attempts to dominate. Continuing, you have elected to be in time rather than eternity. You didn't know you did that. But now you know that when you enacted this bill of divorcement from your father by saying, "Father, I'd rather do it myself," and you lost your identity, it caused eternity to be experienced as the illusion of time in which aging and death are the ultimate benefit. Crazy, isn't it? Again, you have elected to be in time rather than eternity, and have therefore changed your belief in your status. You lost your sonship, you lost your daughtership, and your status now is orphan. Oh, but an orphan that has the opportunity to declare herself or himself and make herself or himself into anything he or she wants to be, and have the glorious experience of having private, personal authority that you can exercise in a dominating manner over your brother and your sister and your world. Oh, how you value the state of orphanhood and the promise you think it holds. You have secured the rightness of this stance by providing another definition, another meaning that says, God gave you free will. And so you have made up a fantasy whereby God actually has authorized you to be an independent, willful, self-made authority. And in fact, if you don't succeed at doing that, you are not fulfilling your divine purpose. You see? You see how this distorted sense of self and distorted experience of reality that you're having in a state of so-called independence is utterly insane, senseless, useless, but one which nevertheless tragically blinds you to your birthright so that you no longer even think it exists, while all along you have continued to be the divine one that you are, the Christ, the Son and daughter of God, because the only way that could be changed is in a fantasy. And fantasies do not override or alter in any way reality. Again, you have elected to be in time rather than eternity, and have therefore changed your belief in your status. Yet, your election is both free and alterable. You do not belong in time. Why do you not belong in time? Because time doesn't exist except as a distorted perception of eternity. You don't belong in time because there is no time for you to be in actually. Continuing, your place is only in eternity, where God Himself placed you forever. Okay, your place is only in eternity. Well, who the hell knows what eternity is? How can this be relevant to you? You know, what does eternity have to do with tomorrow morning when it's time to get up and go to work? Well, you know what eternity has to do with? It's real simple. Eternity has to do with the fact that each one of you is unchangeably pure and perfect. Eternity in the here and now, in relevant terms, means that you are forever, for lack of better words, at your prime. You are incapable right here and right now of aging. You are incapable right here and right now from experiencing disease that debilitates and wears out your body. It means that your brother or sister that you encounter in the day is eternal being. Not in the sense of endless time, but in the sense of instant, unchanging perfection. Eternity has to do with your looking at your brothers and sisters who seem to be looking older today than yesterday and saying, "'Tain't so. I will not confirm the suggestion that's being presented to me that this is a mortal, existing in time, moving on an inexorable path from birth to death, with accompanying distresses, both physical and mental, that contribute to the ultimate of death. The eternal is forever now in absolute perfection, and as I said, in a state of primeness. So when you look in the mirror in the morning and you see bags under your eyes that didn't used to be there, or breasts that are a little lower than they used to be, or a paunch that didn't used to be there, know that you're looking in and identifying with time, when right now eternity is the arena, the context of all being, not time. The shifting of operating systems involves a shifting of the way in which you are willing to apprehend what's going on around you. So that you begin to recognize what's inconsistent with the new operating system, what's inconsistent with eternity. The paint's beginning to peel on the house. The roof is 13 years old. You see, wear and tear has occurred. Deterioration, which is inevitable because everything is made of matter, is happening and needs to be dealt with. Catch these little things as you see them, so that you can say, no, there is another way to look at this. If I am being confronted with the only thing that's going on, and that's the kingdom of heaven, and if eternity is the context in which all of creation is occurring, then this evidence of deterioration cannot be so. And I will not confirm it by agreeing with it. This is where the self-discipline comes in. This is where the commitment, in very practical terms, to the new operating system must come into play. There are, in children's magazines and on the backs of cereal boxes, cartoons, 2 cartoons side by side that are almost identical, except that there are 6 or 8 variations. You need to become like the kids who delight in finding the variations. You need to begin to delight in finding the inconsistencies, so that you can identify it and, instead of agreeing with it, say, "'Tain't so." This does not reflect and embody eternity. You see? This can be fun. It can be delightful. And I'm going to put it this way, it is a very effective way to retrain your mind so that your mind doesn't simply rehearse the old habitual refrain of sin, disease, and death, of time and aging and suffering, so that you break down your natural inclination to reconfirm again and again and again the old operating system, the thought disorder. And you know what? As you do that, you will become an agent for change in your world, because you will stop employing guilt as a means of keeping your world in line and your brothers and sisters. And at the same time, you will find yourself unsusceptible to invitations to guilt that others extend in your direction as a means of getting you into line. And you will have less and less to be upset with your brothers and sisters for. You see, it isn't that they extend an invitation of guilt to you that bothers you. What bothers you is after you have accepted the invitation and are now suffering from having accepted it. We're going to stop here, but there's one thing I want to reassert for you to remember. Every act of authoritative self-will that you engage in for the purpose of demonstrating your successful independent existence constitutes the reinforcing of your obscurity. Every act of authoritative self-will is a demonstration of self-denial that covers you up more completely than ever before. Remember this. Because I promise you, as the divine one that you are, or the ego that you think you are, you truly do not want to push yourself further and further into non-existence. None of you does. And you wouldn't be employing the ego's means of demonstrating your real presence if you knew that it was obscuring your real presence. And that's why I'm making such a point of it for you today, so that that will be clear, because then the impulse to be, that is the very core of your existence, the divine core of your existence, will be able to come forth into expression through means that will secure the clearer and more obvious manifestation of your real identity as God being God right there where you are, and you glorifying God by introducing nothing extraneous to what God is being right there where you are, and you're thereby experiencing yourself from what is nothing more than your right mind. I love you all. And your light is a little bit brighter tonight. I don't care how old or young you appear to be. Your light is timeless. Your being is timeless. Your individuality is timeless. And the visibility and tangibility of your individuality is timeless in its prime, available for you to experience at any moment without any growth or development on the part of your ego needing to occur in order to have that experience. I look forward to being with you next week.